This story is a tough story, man.
Definitely.
Gene Hackman, he was up there in age or
Mhm.
whatever. It's the circumstances surrounding his death, man. Like he lost his wife and the dog died too.
The
When
dog,
you
bro.
yeah, man. When you get to the details of it, um, it appears that the wife died first from like a disease that you get from rats. So I'm assuming a rat bit her. There's no word on like the living conditions that they were in, but like everything was just kind of interesting.
Right.
Apparently, Gene suffered from Alzheimer's
Mhm.
and he had a heart condition too. And it looks like he wasn't taking his medication
Right.
because my theory is when his wife died, that triggered that triggered the Alzheimer's.
Right.
It sounds like he may have been the person that put the dog in the closet. And with the Alzheimer's, he just never went and got the dog back. So that's how the dog
Mhm.
died. And then it sounds like he may have either was going to take his medicine or something,
Right.
or knocked over his pills or something like that, but he died when his pacemaker gave out. And man, that's the tragic death of Gene Hackman, who was a wonderful, wonderful, awesome actor. With that being said, man, I want to remember the awesome and cool shit he did. And of course, the one I'm going with, like in terms of my favorite role that he had, of course, is Lex Luthor. Like he brought that character to life perfectly.
Gotcha.
It was from the pages to life. Everybody talks about Jack Nicholson as Joker. Gene Hackman was definitely a great Lex Luthor, and Kevin Spacey in Superman Returns, he just emulated that performance, and Kevin Spacey was also good. But if you're gonna talk about my favorite Gene Hackman scene, it has to be is that Under Siege with Denzel Washington. The
Yeah.
moment where they were talking about launching the nukes, and
Mhm.
Denzel and Gene tore that scene up, man. I haven't even seen that entire movie, but I've seen that scene. And I'm like, nah, man, that was some grade A Oscar worthy acting between those two. Like they got down to it, man.
Mhm.
Before we move on, what's your favorite memory of Gene Hackman on screen?
Oh man. So I got two, man. Um the first time I was even introduced to Gene Hackman, I'm a younger cat, 93. Was a voice acting job. And I watched this movie by mistake. Like I didn't even know what I was watching until I started watching it.
Mhm.
It was the movie Ants.
Okay.
I was not familiar with DreamWorks at all at that point. I thought everything animated was Disney, Disney, Disney. And then I saw Ants thinking it was some Bugs Life spinoff, and it was completely wrong. But I enjoyed the shit out the movie. And he played the shit out of General Mandible, man. Like if there
He
was ever
did.
an ant that I wanted to step on, bro, it was General Mandible, man. He did a phenomenal job of bringing that character to life, so to speak. So that was probably my first experience with him. But of course, obviously being the coach and the replacements, man. Growing up loving football, that was just second nature for me. And just his performance, him and Keanu just bouncing off of each other, man. I thought that was brilliant in my eyes as a kid, man. I thought that was top tier. I wanted my coach to be like him.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? The
Yeah.
faith that he had in Keanu and the rest of the replacement players coming back and like, never giving up on them and 10 toes down, like, hey, if this shit don't happen, man, you out of here. Well, I'm a bet on my players type shit. And they did what they had to do, man. So shout out to Gene Hackman, man.
Yeah. Correction. It was Crimson Tide, not Under Siege. Under Siege, that terrible movie with Steven Seagal.
Yeah.
It's Crimson Tide. Now I'm gonna make sure I go and watch Crimson Tide. But yeah, the French Connection. Um, like you said, Ants, and that's another film. It's escaping me right now that he was also awesome in. Enemy of the State.
I was just about to say Enemy of the State, man.
Killed that shit, man. He killed it. He killed the Enemy of the State. So yeah, man. R.I.P.
Behind
Gene
enemy
Hackman.
lines.
Right. Another good one. R.I.P. Gene Hackman. R.I.P. to his wife. And shit, R.I.P. to the dog too, man. Yeah, it's just really unfortunate. Really unfortunate. All right. Oh, Greg said in Hoosiers also. Let's see if we can get Greg back.
Shout out Hoosiers, man.
Man, I ain't gonna make no promise, but Lord, please just let me do this dang on podcast.
All right, we got you back. It sounds like you're with us. It looks like you were able to hear the Gene Hackman discussion. And yeah, you added in Hoosiers. Did you have anything else to shout him out with?
Oh no, well, you said Enemy of the State. That was my first introduction to him. With him and Will Smith, man, that was a really good movie. I liked his portrayal of how they actually had him as like this like rogue type agent somewhat. But it was a real good movie. To be honest, seeing him and Will in that movie, the way they carried it was real good. Like it just seemed like two action stars that were kind of on two, I guess you could say two different type of action spectrums, but they work together. Like I don't know if you remember how we grew up and we were like, you'll never see these two rappers work together. It was kind of like that thing. Like I would have never thought seeing Gene and Will work together in a movie.
So the thing with Gene, like Gene has that. Think about Unforgiven. It's very calculated. You know, like that. He's not a bang bang action guy. He's the guy that's going to be your villain in the action movie typically. So having Quick and the Dead, that's another one. Like he wasn't that dude that's just this badass or whatever. My God, he could play it great.
Yeah.
And seeing him in kind of that different light with Will and Enemy of the State, like I said, yeah, you kind of saw a little bit of that. Just from the one scene I saw from Crimson Tide, you kind of saw a little bit of that between he and Denzel, but he and Will kind of took it to another place. So yeah, man, it's like the Hollywood really lost a good one, man. They lost an incredible actor. Goddamn, man, Alzheimer's, bro. It's tough. It's a tough way to go.
U-GeekTV.